In the pentagram rite, I saw a periwinkle sort of blue cloud, but it was shaped kind of like a leaf with one point totally down and one angled off to each side. With the first vibrations, the cloud grew, filling the room from the northwest counterclockwise. Then, with the second, I saw a canopy with 4 deep purple pillars, comparatively about there, about there, about there, and about there. Within it was violet light. There was like a orange chair with a back, a rectangular, from above, footstool, and little round tables on each side. And finally, there was some spots of color that stood out, and a bit of a buzz. In the final reading, the sense of a buzz built up, and when the euphoria started to hit, it was as if things were white. Bright, pure white. The features of the room had changed color. And then, with 3 analgesic wipes, like a storm, the pain of the day's tax went away on all levels. And in the final scrying, a pleasant warmness, like being before a fire, built up on this cold night. And it was like streaks came forth from my fingers and from my toes, even though my toes are covered in socks. But it was like light came forth through the room. Aside from the variations listed, and where one manuscript ends and another continues, and those sorts of features, and of course translation of everything that he could translate, the Index of Spirits is the best formatting feature of this book. That it not only gives you like page numbers like a regular index, which it does have a regular index, it gives you some detail, not just a name. And it goes over variation in this list too. The second pentacle of Araton, the one that mentions burning, is one that started the distinction as compared with the rest of the reactions. But the another pentacle of great power stood out even more. The lift up into the clouds and into secret one. Book 3 is said to be more secret. I'm not sure if lesser known and more secret is the same thing, but this is translating the text, presenting the text. And those seasonal spirits of the sun and the moon, starting at the equinoxes and the solstices, that's how they list the seasons as having started. That stood out. Then the Mars and Jupiter intelligences. Then the intermediate lunar spirits. I'm not saying some of the sigils and attributes weren't interesting, are perhaps more useful on an intellectual basis, but our practical basis, to provoke yourself towards things, right? But they're the ones that stood out, that, in the experience of ritually going through this book. With the baptism of the stone, the elemental configuration had more of an effect than any of the other preparatory things listed. As far as additional spirits, Serguth over females stood out. A Glacis over transportation stood out. The manuscript W4667 stood out in that bibliography. And in the regular bibliography, Skinner's Veritable Key of Solomon